Let's start with Aaron in Oregon. Welcome to the Line of Fire.
Hey, Dr. Brown. Happy Friday.
Thank you, sir.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Perfect. Hey, Dr. Brown, I had a question for you because I have my brother-in-law. He's been bringing up Daniel 7:25, the Bible verse in chapter 7 of Daniel. Verse 25 talks about how this leader is going to come and try and change the times and the law.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother, who's a very zealous man, very godly man, he is kind of leaning towards thinking that means he's going to try and take away the feast, the biblical feast, and the law of Moses. And so that's leading him down a thought path of that we have to keep the law of Moses and observe the biblical feast the way the Israelites would have, or in a New Testament context, but still in a more literal way than a lot of people would.
Yeah, the problem is those are never laid on Gentile believers. The problem is the seventh-day Sabbath is never commanded anywhere in the New Testament for Gentile believers. The problem is that the feasts as a whole are never commanded for Gentile believers, and that Paul explicitly in Colossians 2 warns Gentile believers about coming under pressure. Don't let anyone put you under pressure in regard to Sabbath or new moon or festival, because those things are shadows of the reality. The reality is found in the Messiah. So whatever Daniel 7:25 is referring to, some refer it primarily to past events with Antiochus Epiphanes, some refer it primarily to end of the age events with an Antichrist, etc. But it could just be with reference to the Jewish people and an Antichrist trying to change laws and customs for the Jewish people. But the issue is that nowhere in the New Testament are the feasts of Israel or the seventh-day Sabbath commanded for the church as a whole. And if you're going to say, well, we should do them because God gave them to Israel, then you should do everything else. And if you recognize that we have a different priesthood through the Messiah, and if you recognize that we don't do blood sacrifices anymore through the Messiah, then we have to say, okay, what else has been changed? Doesn't Hebrews 7 say that there's been a change in the law because the priesthood is not the Aaronic priesthood, but the Melchizedek priesthood? So whatever Daniel 7:25 means, and that's disputed by different interpreters, it absolutely is not a warning telling the church that you must keep the biblical feast and the seventh-day Sabbath, otherwise you're in sin or something like that. If God writes it on someone's heart and they joyfully feel called to do that, wonderful, and participate with congregations that do that as unto the Lord, with Jesus being central. But to do it out of a sense of bondage or command is to fall into error and generally leads away from intimacy with God rather not towards it. All right.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Dr. Brown.
You are very, very welcome.